Hey guys, this is Yoda. This will be a how to tank the pack guide for the first pull of Necrotic Wake that people have been doing in high keys. It is a very, very difficult pull. It has a bunch of Password soldiers that constantly jump behind you and try to hit you in the back. It has triple Bone Claw from the Stitchwick Vanguards. Plus, on top of all that, there's a Gatekeeper and 2 Harvesters spamming Throw Flesh on your team, so your healer doesn't really want to heal you. A lot of keys are bricked by this pull. For that reason, some groups have started deviating away from it by going to this Gatekeeper and not pulling the middle pack. You go middle pack with boss, but we're not going to cover that in this video. This will be how to do the hard pull. We'll start off with warrior. We're going to cover warrior, paladin, death knight, and VDH. Bear kind of has it easy. I don't really have a bear on live right now, and I also don't play brew, but we'll talk briefly about how to do it on those tanks as well. So without further ado, here's the warrior. One thing at the start here, a lot of people don't know about this item. This shield has been changed since Shadowlands. You can use it and it's just a buff on you. It doesn't stop you from casting. You can cast and you can move while it's active. So this shield is very powerful, especially in the first pull. If you haven't, the only thing is it's guarded by a corpse harvester. So you need an evoker with sleepwalk, rogue with sap, priest mind soothe, something like that, or DH imprison to get rid of this harvester. So you can pick up the shield. So we start with picking up the shield, charge into the first pack. I tend to last stand early in this pull because last stand is basically useless, and you'll see why later. For tanking the pack, I like to use it on grouping for that reason. So we last stand. I leap past these mobs so they don't hit me on the way. These 4 Patrick soldiers are actually very annoying if you're just like walking past them base move speed, because they do like hit you in the back and it hurts a lot. Pick up this pack with Thunderclap, and then I tag this cleaver alone, this crafter alone with Heroic Throw. I think that's kind of a mistake here. I should have tagged this pack with... If I tag this pack, I should have tagged this pack with Taunt, I think, and then thrown my Ravager right here to pick up aggro. We do get kind of lucky. Like, you notice the Shaman is like, he's been here before. He knows that he can easily die here, so he's staying back. DK is like, well, I can take it if I get meleeed, so he's just here anyway. I think this is an error. I should have pulled with Taunt and Ravager, but we pull with Heroic Throw and it kind of works out. Also of note, in this pull, there's a Gatekeeper that you're dealing with. As a warrior, you want to be reflecting as many times as possible, so it's going to go reflect into kick, into like someone else on my group kicks, into reflect again. I'm also playing AoE kick with disrupting shout. If you're not playing that, then don't worry about it, but if you are, then you want to use that on a necrotic bolt as well. Anyway, we group the pull. So the crucial thing about warrior here is that a lot of the time for warrior, if you're mostly taking physical damage, which, you know, this pull, as long as you're not getting bolted, is all physical damage. Many warriors make the mistake of thinking they can tank any physical damage with just block and ignore pain. That is wrong for this pull. This pull is an exception, I would say. You cannot tank this pull unless you have a major cooldown. A major cooldown being Demo Shout, Shield Wall, Battle-Scarred Veteran, or the shield item from the dungeon that we mentioned before. You need at least one of those active, or you cannot tank this pull, which is why I said last stand is kind of useless. It doesn't really provide you, it's like you can't take the pull with last stand. Anyway, so the pull is grouped. We do overlap on pull since it's kind of hard to hit everything with Demo Shout, so we just wall, and then once it's grouped, we Demo Shout. It's fine to overlap early in this pull because you have so many cooldowns as a warrior. We're also playing double wall, so we overlap wall, Demo Shout on pull. As soon as this wall falls, this should either be second wall or the shield. I like using a shield here nowadays because it kind of catches a little bit of the Wrath of Zulramis, which stops AoE damage on your group. In the actual dungeon, I made an error here and I was late on a cooldown. You'll see how quickly my health drops without a cooldown active. I'd actually end up proccing Battle-Scarred Veteran here for that mistake. I should have used the shield immediately when the shield wall fell. As a result, we get punished. We proc Battle-Scarred Veteran and we still have to use the shield. I guess I didn't technically have to use the shield. I could have just procced instead. As soon as that falls, we use shield wall. So now looking at my cooldowns, I know that after this shield wall falls, I'm out of stuff. So I believe we will use, I call for a link here, Spirit Link. And I'm like kind of stepping back in case it doesn't work or it doesn't come in time. But we get the link. Well, the link, I can still tank the pull. And we have Demo Shout for like 3 more seconds. Once Demo Shout falls, you'll notice I'm walking out and I use Piercing Howl. Piercing Howl talent is very useful for this pull. You should take it in Necrotic Wake, in my opinion, just for this pull. And also the first boss, you can slow the ads. So we Piercing Howl and walking away. Technically now I do have wall up, so I could blow the wall and just walk in and tank if I wanted to, but we still have Piercing Howl, so the pack is still stacked. So I decided to just keep cutting it out. After this stun, I know I can Demo Shout the mobs. Demo Shout should be enough to tank the rest of the pack, so we just stay in and finish the pack off. Alright, so that's warrior. Relatively straightforward, as long as you don't run into the trap of thinking you can tank without a major cooldown in this pack, because it's all physical damage. You should be fine. Just rotate your cooldowns. make sure you pick up the shield, and that's warrior. Next, we're going to go over paladin. So you'll notice in this group, we have no AUG, so it's a little bit harder, but it is definitely doable. We do have a rogue, so we have sap for this guy, which I asked him to do before the key. We pre-holy bulwark here, since it doesn't go away when the wall falls. Pick up the dungeon shield, pick up this pack with Avenger's shield, and then this one should be with Shield of the Righteous. We walk up to the gatekeeper, and I think I'm casting Divine Toll, targeting this fleshcrafter to get aggro. See that? And then the shield is going to bounce here and get aggro on all these. Then we set up the consecration. Once all the mobs are in, we're using Ardent as they're walking in. And we also randomly proc cheat death, but that always happens. I guess it's not cheat death, it's Golden Valkyr. So we Ardent as the mobs are walking in. Once they're stacked, I believe it should be tier. Yep. Then once the Ardent falls, by the way, this whole time we're targeting the gatekeeper. If you're feeling super crazy, you can like try and tab shield these harvesters, but I tend to focus on just the gatekeeper here. And my own survivability, because this pull is very hard for paladin. Once Ardent falls, it should be either Guardian Age of Kings, Shield, or Bubble. Not sure which I ended up doing in this particular run. Okay, we chose Guardian. Once Guardian falls, it should be, again, Bubble or the other, or the Shield. It looks like we decide to commit Bubble. Once Bubble falls, it should be the Shield or Kiting. It looks like we decided to kite. We do have an Assassination Rogue in the group, which is perma-slowing the mobs. If you don't have Assassination Rogue, hopefully your group has some sort of slow. Like we do also have a Druid you can call for Vortex. This is either like keep the mob slowed or use an external. Here we do have a persistent slow, so I'm just taking advantage of that. If you don't have that, you can play Consecrate slow. After the anniversary patch, it's a lot easier to take, so you would just slow these with Consecrate. So we're just kiting the mobs around in a circle. Here I decide to shield because they're kind of catching up to me. But we want to, while these harvesters are alive, you want to not, if you pull these mobs like super far away from the harvesters, then the harvesters will live for a long time. So you want to kite like in a circle around them if possible. Damage in this group is a little bit lower than the last one, which is why stuff is alive for so long. Yeah, so basically it just looks like this for paladin. You blow all your cooldowns and then kite around basically until they're up, and make sure you kite with a proper pathing. You notice I'm still like not even tanking this pack because triple bone claw is so dangerous. All right, so that's the paladin. You notice we are playing crit wings and we are prioritizing crit, so its pull is doable even with a very damage heavy build. Next we'll do it for blood decay. So we have an evoker. I ask for sleepwalk as always. Pick up the shield as always. Walking past this, we blow Vamp Blood and A-Bomb Limb on pull. As soon as we get to where we're ending, we use D&D. I actually kind of probably should have used, I think I should have used Rune Weapon before this. For some tanks that have a tough time getting aggro at the start, it's good. It's not bad to like get settled with just this and then pull the final pack afterwards. So that's what I did here. We grip to pull, and then we just use Rune Weapon. So at the start here, we have Rune Weapon, Bone Storm, Rune Tap, and Vamp Blood. So we don't need any other cooldowns on that. Once the Rune Weapon falls, we're going to use probably Lichborn. Yeah, so it's Lichborn here. We also overlap with Link, but that's fine. At the end of the Link, we use Icebound Fortitude. I think this Icebound is okay to use just because we have the shield. In a normal situation, using Icebound and Lichborn like together is kind of not great because you're going to run out of cooldowns faster. But since we have the extra shield here, I feel confident using it. Then we go Vamp Blood, which Vamp Blood plus Rune Tap. Once the Vamp Blood falls off, we're going to use Rune Weapon. Or sorry, not once it falls off. Once Rune Weapon is up, we're going to use Rune Weapon. Here I make a mistake using the shield. Since I have Vamp Blood and Rune Weapon, that should be enough to tank the pull. Using the shield is actually excessive here, as you will see. Once the shield falls off, I have Rune Weapon alone, which is kind of enough. But at this point, this is where I should have used shield if I still had it, because I have no other cooldowns left. Instead, I basically just try to ego tank the pack since it's at 12 with no cooldowns. And I get kind of punished, but as a blood decay, you have the right to ego a pull every 4 minutes if you want. So we attempt to ego the pull, and I actually almost made it. But yeah, the error here was made right here. Sorry, right here when I chose to push shield. Clearly I don't need the shield when I have Vamp Blood and Rune Weapon active. So what I should have done is let the Rune Weapon fall off and then use shield. Obviously, if the pack is still alive, at this point also, I could have chosen at this point to kite the pack. If you're playing Grip of the Dead, which I think you should in Necrotic Wake, it's very useful here. You just drop a D&D and then walk away when you have no cooldowns. In this dungeon, it just is like a 12, and I was kind of like ego tanking because someone was talking to someone on stream. I recommend not taking the pack here, especially if you accidentally blew the shield for no reason. Just D&D and walk away, and it would be good here. You could cut it very similar to how you saw me do it on the Paladin. All right, so that's Death Knight. Now we'll do it on the VDH. I am playing Last Resort Eldrachi, so it's a bit of a weird build that most people won't play. If you're playing Felskard, it's actually quite a bit easier. So yeah, I also make an error at the start, but since it's only a 13, I don't get punished as hard. Also note that I am playing Last Resort, so even if I had proc cheat here, I still wouldn't have died. So we're playing DH, so I can just prison this myself. We'll pick up the shield here. So as Eldrachi, you want to start with Hunt pretty often. Hold on, we'll go back, because I actually made a really big error here. As Eldrachi, I find that it's kind of useful to just tag the first pull with Hunt. Since this has a cast time, you can basically cast like when you're not in combat, which puts you 1 second ahead. My error here is that I should have used Demon Spikes mid-air, so that I didn't take all 4 of these melees from these soldiers unmitigated. Anyway, so I go Hunt into immediately using my Eldrachi Glaive. If you're playing Felskard, you don't need to worry about this. You can just like Fellblade, Immor, and then jump into the next pull. But since I'm playing Eldrachi, this is my opener. My jump here actually gets LOS'd on the stairs, and I also don't have Demon Spikes up, so this is like worst case possible scenario. It's basically really bad. What I should have done is Spikes, obviously insta, and then walk, and then like jump here, and then jump here. That's what I should have done, but you know, I'm kind of rusty on the DH, that's not what I did. Decided to lose all my health instead, insta health pot. Then we go Fracture this with Immora into Fellblade and Feldev. So this is something, if you make a terrible mistake like I did at the start of a pull, you're gonna have to Feldev early to recover the mistake. So that's what I did. I made a terrible error. Health pot, Fellblade the nearest mob, and Fracture into Feldev. I actually decided not to full channel the Feldev, by the way, you'll note here, because full channeling Feldev is kind of just only for damage. I cancel it halfway as once I realize it's getting to aggro, so that I can basically heal off these 2 souls. If I didn't mess the start of this up so badly, I wouldn't have to do this. But anyway, so I realized I messed up, and then apply brand and apply mana. Basically, as a VDH, this is pretty common. You're just gonna want to slam every single button you have on pull, because once you're settled in the pull, it's pretty easy. So we're slamming every button we have, overlapping literally everything. You will note that VDH is one of those tanks that requires a lot of setup, especially the Eldrachi build, so I do kind of give myself a little bit of time here to set up, like meta's rolling, brand is on all the mobs, and then tag the last pack. Once it's in, one of the reasons I like to play this build, by the way, is because you have grip and spirit bomb, so I will use AoE grip here. At this point, we're just doing our basic rotation. I have Spirit Bomb, so I'm pressing Spirit Bomb. If you don't have Spirit Bomb, you would just Soul Cleave here. So once my meta falls off, the pack is very, very low, because this group has relatively high damage for a 13. At this point, Brand is still on all the mobs, so I don't feel the need to use my shield. Once my first meta falls off, the mobs still have Brand, and then after the Brand, I have Feldev. Once this Feldev was over, if the pack is still alive, which could happen sometimes, that's when I would use my shield or darkness. Maybe even overlap both, and then once that's over, you would run away. Okay, so that's the pull on Venus Demon Hunter. Obviously, I made some very massive errors here, but with Last Resort, I still had the safety net. If you don't make these errors, then this pull will be very, very easy for Venus Demon Hunter. All right, so that's all the video footage we have. For Guardian, this pull is very, very easy, I think. Guardian is one of the best tanks. For this pull, you basically just pre-incarn, run in, thrash everything. I wouldn't even bother with the shield as Guardian because this pull is so easy. Pre-incarn, run in, pick up everything with thrash. Moonfire to pull the far pack, just keep thrashing. You can also bark on pull, because you're going to do second incarn with Rage of the Sleeper, pushing Lunar Beam also when it's up. When you're in incarn in this pull, basically it's impossible to die. If your health ever randomly dips, you can just spam Frenzied Regen also. Once your incarn is off, usually your Rage of the Sleeper, since you used on pull, will be up in about 20 seconds. So you would re-bark. Once that bark is over, you SI to fill until Rage of the Sleeper, and then you have Rage of the Sleeper again. If the pack is somehow still alive, that's when you would start running away with Vortex and Typhoon. For Brew, I'm not going to lie, I don't play Brew nearly as much as the other tanks, but you would definitely want to pick up the shield. And I think once the pack is grouped, you would probably go Fort Brew into Dampen Harm, into use the shield, into running away. Brew is pretty good at kiting because you're able to do most of your rotation from range, and you do have built-in slows with special delivery. But again, I'm not a Brew expert. That's kind of just how I would play it if I were to start trying this on Brew. So yeah, thank you for watching. That's the first pull Necrotic Wake. Peace out.